未補血殺，終於做咗啦！依家嘗試打斜我，哇，好襟玩啊！搞咁耐先開始搞最高難度。好多。
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house. I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms. Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately. I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral. In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back. No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints. The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
我咪要調返轉頭，要行另一條路。多謝點心。 景真好。邊有冇嘢講啊？
The woods around the house have always been uncomfortably silent, as if they're about to say something but never do.
Oh, 彈咗就得啦。
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
咁不規則嘅上邊嗰度會唔會冧？咁樣起到。
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
好唔舒服，見到咁樣好唔舒服。
Now,
準備冧。
as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
點解？點解要咁樣捐入去？
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
細個就成日捐呢個窿。
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home. But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
咁多年冇人執過，應該鋪晒塵。
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank. Great Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
其實佢呢個 tree 都應該有啲意思嘅，講下佢個家族啲人。但係睇佢咁樣，即係佢啲家族啲人都死晒嘅。全部都死晒，剩翻佢都係繼承咗間屋。係啊，連啲兄弟都死埋。
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Milton 即係佢阿二佬啦。頭先佢話 Loris 個大佬又死咗，跟住 Milton 二佬又可能失咗蹤。
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night.
Một上同有一落喎，上去望下先。
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
Edith 係邊個嚟咧？望下先。話 Edith 係好老啊，即係阿爺阿嫲，我都唔知 Edith 係男人名定女人名，應該阿嫲嚟。再望下先。點解佢家族啲人咧個個都咁早死嘅？真係好誇張喎！係嘛？Hello 黎萬土豪 ，Hello 啦妹，佢成個家族啲人全部都唔長命。
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
呢個係白祖父間房。你講咩？每條線就係每個人。
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
要鎖匙。就係呢一條。
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
咁樣。
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
哇！佢間房咁樣整個密室嘅，好奇怪喎！咁
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. But I had no idea what was behind that door.
全家都奇怪。
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole.
This Molly 係佢祖父輩嚟喎，如果係個 Molly， 但係都係10歲啊，瓜老襯。
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
(1937 到1947啊，10歲。Molly Finch。
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Molly 嘅故事啊嘛。
My Halloween candy was all gone. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
哇！冇嘢食連隻寵物啲食物都要食。
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
連條金魚都想食咗佢。所以你依家究竟係乜？佢個高度好矮嘅，去到呢度。
I kept eating and eating.
哇！點解牙膏都攞嚟食？佢咩都食㗎喎，真係。
I ate a lot of things that night.
哇！佢咩都食㗎，真係食得到嘅咩？
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her.
鎖住。
And And suddenly,
Why?
I was a cat.
點解我忽然間變咗隻貓？咁我哋應該點？好神奇喎！呢個故事。
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared. Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
可以走呢邊。
I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird.
我可以走呢邊嘅。路冇路行嘅。哦，上面。
I gobbled her up.
Wow.
And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
而家變咗貓頭鷹。
Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop
黐線嘅
eating.
貓頭鷹係咁嘅樣，幾啖啊
And
食幾
suddenly,
多？
I was a shark.
哇！好離奇咩料？電話卡住啊喂！喂，我要跳翻落海啊喂！喺呢個係。
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever.
嗰隻嘢喺前面嗰啲。
I wanted fat, juicy seals.
海豹，喂，做乜頂啊？哇！
I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
味道美極。咦？捉唔到呢？喂，見咗嘅喂。 啲油油下唔見咗，有啲血喺度。
I grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
又變咗咩啊？變咗條蛇。 唔係蛇嚟嘅喎，係八爪魚。我要做啲咩？
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
呢只係賣劇情㗎嘛？呢只。 咩？去條友背後聽歌，有人，好似係有人唱緊歌。要等啊！
I was big, but I moved real quiet.
食咗係諗住，唔係呢個，咁邊個啊？都會唱聖誕歌。 唱歌條友喺間房度， 咁我係過咗定未到先？你俾個指示我。佢都差唔多唱完啦，係嘛？裏邊啦。
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
想停下來又唔想停下。點解入去？唱得咁難聽。喺度等啊！跟住唱咯。搞掂啦！又食咗佢。上唔到去。
Passenger, I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe. Closer and closer.
翻嚟自己間房，應該係食之前嗰個，即係點啊？我冇做錯嘢啊嘛？我順住咁玩喎而家。
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to be, and we both know I will be delicious.
自己變嘅嘢食咗自己。咁啊完咗啦個日記。
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Oh.
I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here before my mom sealed the doors.
Ah, 有得出嚟啦！
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly.
捉兔仔我頭先咪捉咗。喂，佢係咪咁樣行㗎？頭先我捉咗兩隻兔仔啦，落彈咗杯啦。
I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room.
曾祖母啊，以前係。佢又唔係經個廳出去嘅喎，係喺度爬出爬入啊，或者經過啲密室去其他人啲房，小家衞嘅。Hello。
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Her room was like a museum.
呢個 Odin 間房啊 ，Odin 係邊個嚟㗎 ？Odin 係曾祖父啊，應該係。曾祖父。嗱，啲房全部鎖住晒，所以啲人就爬嚟爬去。
Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
90幾歲，佢個
When Edie
曾祖
told
母啊
people
最
Sven
長
was
命
killed
㗎。
by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
呢個有乜水嚟嘅？呢個冇嘅，冇呢個人名喎。但係應該都係佢家族啲人嚟嘅，點解冇名？佢寫咗喺側邊咯，咩意思啊？
One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
好離奇喎！佢啲古仔，出晒未啊？哇！點解個廁所咁樣嘅？佢係就係咁樣封住晒啲門啊！
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
咩爺爺嘅第一任妻子？K 啊，即係咦佢又冇特別寫喎。佢有幾個人唔係喺棵樹嘅位咧，係咩意思？佢條鎖匙可以開晒咁多把鎖嘅可以。
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
立體書。
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
我冇漏到啊，其實好似漏咗嘢喎。
For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune.
吓？得一張㗎咋？唔止係嘛？
Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan.
Odin
On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
哇！點解可以成間屋可以駛出海？
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edith, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island.
哦，嗰個係佢老公。
Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
鋪墊。OK。即係我係應該揾晒呢啲咁樣樣每個死咗嘅人，跟住睇翻佢個故事。喂，但係我之前有冇漏啊？成間屋咁鬼大啦，我咁啱入咗嚟呢一間，入咗去頭先嗰個小女孩嗰間，就一路嚟到呢度。多謝點心。咩嚟㗎？點解有架飛機啊？
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin, and that he never talked about him.
Sam 有個孖生兄弟，即係 Kelvin 啦，有咁講。1950年。真係好型啊！喺自己間房度可以擺條橋啊！
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
Kelvin 啊。
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
Goodbye.
My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up.
Wow,
then maybe he'd still be here. but I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
佢咁樣跌死啊！哇！揈到可以揈到咁樣。
The day he made up his mind to fly, and he did.
即係點啊？佢就係咁樣揈咗落海
Calvin's
死
story
咗。
felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
佢咪就係咁樣揈咗落海死咗。
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Shoot. 嚇！黐線嘅喎，得意嘅，做咩呢度？嚇！啲機關真係搞笑喎。真係精彩啊！佢間屋，睇下揾齊晒啲嘢未先。
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Okay. 頭盔信一定要揾要睇。佢而家呢度叫做出返嚟外邊喎。
Edie's father Odin built the original house.
Odin 好複雜啊！佢呢個 tree 咧，我唔係好明。佢 Edith 係 Odin 個女啊。咁即係已經係一代、兩代、三代、四代㗎啦，呢度隔咗。即係 Odin 已經係阿爺個阿爺嚟㗎喎。依家又變翻你自己咩啊？而家咪翻嚟間大屋度咯，唔係咩？呢度係我頭先我喺呢度上嚟㗎嘛，跟住我行過呢間房啦，呢間房冇嘢啊，得嗰個密室。 穿過去咧就嚟咗呢間房係喺阿 Molly 嘅，阿 Molly 嘅。咦，有嘢睇喎。
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
跟住又唔知點樣爬出邊穿翻過嚟。呢個就應該係曾祖父、曾祖母嗰
The
間
last
房。
time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
咦？呢個邊個嚟啊？
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
呢個就係個廁所啫喎，咁得意。跟住呢個就係嗰兩兄弟啦。
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
Sam 係佢阿爺 ，OK，Sam 係佢阿爺 ，Calvin 係佢曾伯父。芭芭拉都係佢阿爺嘅阿哥啊，唔係阿家姐應該係。哇，好亂啊！呢家人。
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
芭芭拉。芭芭拉都係，哇，都係早夭啊！16歲就死嘅又係。咁好啦，我哋繼續入返芭芭拉間房。
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
唔係咩？我都以為佢係童星喎，做戲嘅喎。
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family.
佢好似係法
I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream.
尖叫女王啊。
Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue.
睇嚟會有啲好特別嘅反轉喎。
She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
而家播啲嘅音樂都鬼正。哇！我而家變咗喺裏邊行嘅。Halloween 啊！變咗一個月光光心慌慌嘅音樂。
And imagine the worst.
YouTube 睇你冇嘅，我啱啱先見到。喂，係咪有咩要做啊？喺呢度係咪要咩清台啊嘛？係咪呢度呢個位？係咪呢個位？點解喺呢個咁緊張嘅關頭要你做啲咁嘅嘢？好無聊。係啊，我 YouTube 直播啫嘛。喂，係咪啫 Johnny？搞掂啦，係真係喎，冇錯。Johnny 唔鬼你喎，血跡。
Leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
咁多血嘅喂，啲嘢好特別。哇！有人嘅。係咪綁咗喺裏邊啊？佢漚死咗佢啦！突然間，唔係話佢唔知點解會好奇怪咁喐咧佢。跟住就話佢終於嗌得到啦。
Oh dear!
兜嘢批落去。
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well,
結果都係
I'm
嗌
not
唔到。
scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
又嚟又繼續。佢邊度嗌啊？我都唔知佢喺邊度。上邊。
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He
都係
was
硬
quite
嘅。
smashing.
咁犀利嘅。
He couldn't.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
走啊！冇走啊！走啊！被動走。
That night, she played her part beautifully.
多謝配包禮。
Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges
哇！
grow.
佢仲夠膽咁行上去，毆佢啊！ 哇！
He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
最終我要多謝你啊！係咪落到去跟住唔見咗？通常都係咁樣。佢真係好似整到 整到月光光、心慌慌嗰下，一落到去跟住就唔見咗啦。
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was.
佢走到去邊啊？死咁多人。
At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
咩事？黐線咁跌咗落樓嗰邊計佢。
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there
終於識嗌
myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter, hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
黐線嘅，即係咁樣離奇咁樣死咗咯，佢呢個女仔。救命啊！呢個故事真係好特別
Edie
咯。
told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
係啊，我都知班真係怪，所以我咪話佢最尾會做到一次真係嗌到出嚟咯，俾我估中咗。冇啦，呢度走冇路走啊，要捐翻嗰個槍。
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
仲有咩杯啊？呢度仲有得上。
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
咁我上埋先。佢呢度話俾你聽嗰個音樂盒就係有鎖匙。
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
鎖咗喎，上唔到。呢個邊個㗎？
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
library 啊，呢間係。 但係冇得入嘅，都係章魚喎。哇！好黑咯，忽然間。
I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement. My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. The power had been turned off the night we left. Maybe I should go check out that music box down by the basement.
佢提示提到出面㗎，我就係想行埋先去攞。
If I keep winding the music box, maybe a key will pop out like it did in the comic book. Only one restaurant would deliver to our house. We had Chinese a lot.
Hả啦，咩你一直都唔聽啊？做咩啫？咁我諗住揾埋其他地方睇下係咪真係行晒先。頭先問你，你又唔應我；問你係咪要清台又唔應我，真係啱。我都話我知咯，但係我想行晒先。
Unless I wanted another tetanus shot. 逐步嚟㗎嘛，咁心急嘅咩？啲木工房，喂，太 I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
清堂我做完啦，而家先認。哇！睇唔到嘢喎呢度。
I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that. I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone.
呢個 Water 係邊個嚟嘅？咁樣楞過去即係點啊？即係佢阿嫲定係咩啊？
She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could.
Barbara 去世之後就去咗好遠。 有啲杯都唔記得，好似有個要係門眼望入去。
If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. If you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid.
Hello， 波兒表姐都係分享。
It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave. Well, I still can.
佢到底呢度做緊乜嘢？佢俾人韞咗喺邊度？日日就係咁樣樣。
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara. And Molly. And Calvin.
咁呢個應該係佢個即係佢個阿爺嗰個細佬嚟嘅，應該係。呢個 water 應該係佢阿爺個細佬。
Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left, or a month, or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
好似係唯一冇講佢有冇死。
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
佢冇離奇咁死，或者咁講啊。咦，而家咁樣嘅呢度？
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
.我唔明喎，咁佢即係一路，其實一路都困住咗喺呢度。佢就係喺度日日喺度開罐頭食噶嘛，喺呢個位。佢應該係一路喺度困住喺呢個位。 我係風聲點心。
Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth. And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house? It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
同埋呢度係撞嗰啲寵物咁多嘅。
Sven built the house, but it was Edith who designed the cemetery.
呢啲就真係人啊！呢啲。
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. said she dreamed about the old house every night.
咦，冇啦，睇完啦。呢度係咪有杯？今晚試玩波試玩。好嘢嚟㗎，多謝支持。冇走。
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better.
如果認為玩得過，但係未係時候入手。
She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
咁呢個咩阿 Don 就應該係阿媽嚟啊嘛。
We never found Milton's body, so my mom insisted we were putting up a monument, not a tombstone.
失咗蹤。
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
佢已經係有小朋友嘅，仲想乜爬爬？黐線嘅。
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common.
咩啊？點解係都要玩啲畫面咁陰暗嘅 game？呢隻係
They were both pretty intense.
好特別㗎個故事，最後咁快，最後2個鐘都未夠喎。
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
冇啊！我暫時以我所知就係佢講緊呢個家族，好多人都係好細個已經離奇啊，死晒嘅，即係個個都活唔耐嘅。咁而家佢成個家族得翻佢啊！佢翻嚟一開始呢個細個嗰間大屋度揾翻每個人，即係啲嘢睇下睇下。
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
又係唔係死人妖啊？阿 Sam 就係佢阿爺啦，即係係啊，佢阿爺就活得耐嘅。Hello, Dolina.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
.呢度有個杯啊嘛，影相。
It's too early, Dad.
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it?
我知道要影隻兔仔啦，係咪邊度？
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit.
頂你啊！你一個麻煩。喂，我好難睇喎，依家。 得啦，我大約知嘅我。應該唔喺呢度。
Smile, Dawn. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
頂！我錯過咗啦，原來我錯過咗啦，原來頭先嗰張啊係要，咁我仲以為頭先嗰張唔係啊，影完先知原來係啱啱嗰張。關我咩事啫 ？Johnny 咯，
Definitely should not have drunk all that
佢
coffee.
一句麻煩就掟翻個波俾我，咩嚟嘅呢啲？
Nothing quite like being outside.
仲有啲咩影啊？咩嚟嘅呢啲？話咗俾佢聽。 你話俾我知邊張啊嘛，大佬，我都唔知邊張影咁多張，仲要影啲乜嘢嘢啊？依家俾我係咁影喎。
Aw.
我咪睇咗攻略咯，點知佢就係嗰張，淨係嗰張啫。 喂，仲要影啲咩啫？我唔想再影啦。我最想影嗰個已經影唔返。人哋講咗影隻杯，影咩杯啫？唔係影杯啊，影隻兔啊！我知係影隻兔啊，我唔知隻兔喺邊啊！喂，影咁多張都唔得嘅，仲有咩影嘅？
A little more gas in the tank, I guess.
Hold still while I take a.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
喺度屙尿，影人喺度屙尿。
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Don. You'll need to remember this stuff if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Don, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years.
有隻杯俾我影。
Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip.
點樣都 outflow 嘅。
Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. Don, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph?
又係你嗌我影相。
Found an old logging trail with deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map. eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Now keep your...
槍爆你個頭啦！仲喺度講
Great
嘢
shot, Dawn!
仲喺度講廢話。鹿嚟㗎，做咩喺度喊啊？
I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
做咩影得咁衰嘅？殺死咗，跟住又喺度喊。
Sorry, Dawn. Just gotta reset the timer.
我要快啲行上去。喂，咁棘嘅條路，可唔可以笑下？唔好喺度喊。
Hang on, kiddo. Just trying to get a shot of the two of us together.
點樣樣嘅？條路位棘咯，戇居嘅。
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think.
哇
Dad!
哇！就係咁樣死咗啊！佢老豆就係咁樣跌落去死咗。
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
收台有少少上版啊！哦，好啊。喂，佢阿爺真係又係好離奇嘅死法啦，咁樣死咗。未到最後㗎嘛。
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
(呢個有乜水啊？呢個係佢阿媽個細佬啊！點解？哇！呢啲夭折㗎喎，真係1歲就死㗎喎。呢個1歲啊，就瓜咗柴喎呢個。
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it.
仲喺度玩，
I
佢
think he
細個
saw
喺度
things
沖
the rest
涼
of。us don't.
做咩啫？我知啊，整爛晒嗰啲啊嘛。
Watching over Gregory, it's time to.
喂，趕唔切咯喎。
Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw.
就係阿媽掛住聽電話，就浸死咗個仔啊！
What his world was like.
呢個我知啦，我知嗰啲你又唔講，我唔知嗰啲你又話好麻煩。
Lost in his imagination.
點樣整死佢啊
Whatever it was he saw.
就係唔知點樣整下開着個水啊！
It sure made him happy.
佢個世界都好特別。我硬係覺得應該係整着咗個水嘅。 整唔到嗰個嘢嘅。
I know how silly it sounds.
係啦。
But I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could.
做乜嘢啊？
Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Hold on, I don't remember.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw.
就係咁樣整死嘅。
There's so much I don't understand.
陰公，
About Gregory.
仲要自己變成嘅青蛙。
But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
即係因為件事咧，佢兩公婆離咗婚。當啦。
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger.
豎你中指。呢度好似有啲咩啊？
The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
咁樣死都有嘅。
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
死得真係奇怪喎呢個。
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Okay. 呢個山 J 就係佢個老豆。
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
佢1年就生咗個仔，佢咁快嘅。 咁樣快咗少少。
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again.
Okay.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Milton 係2樓啊嘛。
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings. Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush. I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out. Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Louis's room, except Louis. Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Wow.
He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to
唔係真係懟一手埋去啊嘛？
wander.
哦，要咁樣行嘅喎，點解要咁樣？
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small.
一邊做嘢一邊好似喺度打機咁。
He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. Things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a beautiful prince, handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows. He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
一路停留咗喺佢幻想世界。
He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Calico had insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. The rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My
brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
我諗係咁嘅意思啊。 走喎咁樣，呢度走。
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends.
Oh?
That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the band came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
即係 Edith 都死咗啦，佢係咯，而家係走嚟拜。冤，生佢死。呢個講到真事啊！佢整啲真人相啊，都勁黐線啊！幾特別嘅故事嘅係，因為短短地咁樣。呢個可能真係真人，可能係製作組。唔係，我覺得應該係嗰啲製作組嗰啲人細個嘅相嚟啫。多謝 Brian 點心。 又要保管，咦麻鬼煩。好啦，做咩啊？3個鐘，爭最後3個，再次開啟 Kelvin 嘅故事。邊個打邊個啊？我要玩返頭先嗰個打獵嗰個係邊個嚟㗎？阿 Sam 啊，先打獵嗰個應該係。影相啊嘛，係嘛
？Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime. Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. The camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear
唔
up.
係喎，我又 miss 咗喎，唔係呢個位喎，係頭先嗰張喎，應該係。唔係又影咗，係又 miss 咗。 應該第2章，再嚟個。好易 miss 咯，只能夠講。你見到個重點位影就自然好，好快會走過去。
Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
Perfect.
會影2次。
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it?
呢個。
Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit.
點解要特別要玩 Kelvin 呢個故事？我唔明。好黐線其實我 Kelvin 呢個故事。
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up. Then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. The day he made up his mind to fly, and he did.
He 黐線都下定決心要飛翔，而佢做到，好慘啊！
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
冇嘅，點解冇嘅？哦，依家先有。唉，搞掂啦。咁啊完啦。睇唔到佢寫咩字。 幾粒鐘，3個鐘。佢頭先阿 Edith 臨尾嗰度應該係意思係佢生仔啊嘛，佢喺度捐緊個窿出嚟，應該係講緊個 BB 捐緊出嚟啊，係咪佢係想講嗰樣嘢，所以佢係應該係生咗出嚟佢就死嘅，係啊，我都係咁樣理解。但係我唔係好明呢個 Molly 係點樣死嘅，佢即係喺度話好肚餓，喺度幻想嘅。咁冇理由無端端會俾隻怪物食咗㗎嘛？即係佢呢兩個都係離奇咯，啲怪物咁樣咯。即係一個就話俾個怪物喺個床底度潛伏佢食咗佢㗎嘛。呢個就係話俾班怪物咁樣都係食咗㗎啦。咁你話佢阿哥嗰啲就可能係精神病啦，即係自己精神病，自己整死咗自己咁嘛。打千秋呢啲啊，自己作死啊，我覺得就係呢個 BB 就意外嚟嘅，我覺得呢個又係奇怪咁樣，啲風箏點樣吹起啲嘢，跟住就捲走咗佢啊？定唔知做乜？佢阿爺又係意外啦，跟住呢個唔知做乜鬼嘅。唔係，我覺得佢專登韞住佢咧，係應該係怕佢有咩事啊嘛，可能應該係咁解。可能係怕佢有咩事，所以就韞住佢。點知佢有一日就頂唔順啦，自己走咗出嚟，跟住就即刻出事啦。點啊，係咪冚家產？係啊，呢個就係一個關於冚家產嘅故事。喂，攞獎㗎呢個故事。佢出嗰年好似即係起碼最佳劇本嗰啲有提名先啦。我唔知佢有冇攞獎。係啊，但係玩完之後先發現原來就係一個冚家產嘅故事。家變。其實都唔知係詛咒定乜樣咯，個個都唔長命，可能就係話家族精神病。呢個係點啊？我唔記得咗添呢個。Milton 係點啊？我唔醒唔起添。唔記得咗 Milton 係點樣死嘅？攞獎挑你最憎嗰隻 Human 都係攞國際大。咦？點解我完全諗起佢點死嘅呢個？呢個係失蹤，呢個係，但係佢二樓係失蹤。鍾意畫畫嘅。攞獎嘅結果19蚊。
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
我細個都有畫過啲咁嘅嘢㗎。我細個畫火柴人。自己畫咗道門，打開咗走入去，閂埋，跟住就從此唔見咗人啦，離奇失蹤真係。我個人幾鍾意芭芭拉個故事，幾好過癮，無端端就整埋晒啲月光光心慌慌嗰啲音樂落去咧，好鬼抵死。你比較難，你只係逐漸出現4個字咩啊？做咩啫？我都唔知你想講啲乜嘢。等我回味一下個故事先，得意啊！我覺得幾驚。玩埋 P4，遲啲先啦。太快2週目又冇乜意思嘅。你話畫火柴啊嘛，你有玩過？ 沙加。